Welcome to Trading Lounge and the Asian indices, and starting with the Elliott Wave for the ASX200 here. It's quite possible that we've got a top in play here, so we need to be a little bit mindful. So from this low here we can count 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then 5 waves up through here. We've been working through this long wave 4 here. I was figuring that we were going to find support on top of 6,300, which is the top of group 1, and if we do get a tested support here, then we'd look at 6,500, the next level in the Fibonacci ratio, going to the upside. So I figured that from this point here, roughly, that we were going up for wave 1 and back for wave 2 and then up for 3, 4, 5. But it appears that this 5-wave structure within here is pretty much was done and dusted, really, because we've taken this low out through here. Not so much on the cash market just yet, but very close, and not quite on the futures market just yet either. But we need to, really start considering, as we did last time we spoke, that we can have a top in place. If the third wave's got an extension in it there, then wave 1 here and wave 5 can be roughly the same length. So even though it is short, it does sort of line up with this particular wave 1 in this space here. So we need to be mindful of the downside, and that can come at this stage from BHP or from the banks as well. So with CBA, just for example, before we go into detail on another market, I was figuring that with CBA we had a low in here because we had 5 waves moving up through here, and then I thought, well, an A and a B and a C for this move here. Wasn't quite at the 61.8% mark, but we had a very clear corrective pattern here, and that corrective pattern is still there. So the 61.8% here, we can now look at this as an A wave and a B wave and a C wave to here, but we wouldn't want to see CBA with resistance at 70. If we get a resistance at 70 here, then we know that we're going to make new lows here, and we'll have to count lower at that point. But this is still holding up okay here, so we'll just stay with this pattern here for a while, but we'll need evidence of before we can trade long or short in this. With BHP, same thing here. We had this. I know this is a wave 4 here, so this counts quite nicely as wave 4 to wave 5 here. So we're seeing this downside movement here, and yeah, let's just see how this goes here. Obviously, I can count this as corrective, or I can count it as impulsive, but as impulsive it hasn't finished yet. I'd still need to see another move down through here, and especially if it locks in on this number 2 here, group 1, this is major trading level 30, 1, 2 and 3, group 1, failed to find support. Well, it found support, hit 5, and then knocked down from that point. So if we get the 32 as resistance here, then we're going to be moving down to the 30, and so then we can start to look down at this point down here. So we are currently short in this market here somewhere, so we're okay with this. So let's just see this develop. But this top here, we've got to kind of figure out what's going to drag the ASX200 down, so we can start looking at those. If it's this market, we can look at the commodities. So yeah, let's see what happens with CBA here, the CBA on the daily chart here. So with this market here, yeah, there's a couple of things here. First of all, if I'm wrong here and this market finds support on top of the 6.3 here, then we'll look at going long. So we'll look at going long up here, and also we can also look at going long a little bit further up here as well. But for the first instance here, we were looking down for basically 5 waves down, and then an ABC here, and then we'll look further to go down. So we're going to see a bit of a rally in this space here. So let's just go in and have a look at that. So on the 4-hour chart here, we were looking, last time we spoke, we're looking from wave 3 here all the way over to wave 4 here as a triangle pattern, and then 5 waves up here. So yeah, as I mentioned, we were looking at this as being wave 1, coming back for wave 2 in here, and then moving up. But it started to come down too far, and now it's taken this low out here. I suppose there is a possibility that, you know, just in case other people got other counts, is it's possible to have wave 4 here, with an A wave here, B wave here, and a C wave here, but we don't really have a nice 5 waves here. We do if we look at this little, because it's 1 and 2 and 3 here, and 4 and 5, so a truncated 5th wave here, possibly, and then that would leave us with all of this is wave 1 and 2, not very nice looking, and wave 3 and 4, so it just doesn't fit, you know, just can't get my head around it. So, but look, the main thing here though is that it does appear that we've got 5 waves down through here, down through the top here, and so we'll be looking at this ABC correction in here. So let's just go in and have a look at that on the 1 hour chart. So what I wanted to do here is that the move down here counts. I suppose I could count this as all the way down from an A wave to here, a B wave to here, and a C wave to here. But I can't see where that leg fits in on the bigger correction here. So it's probably safer to label it, as I have done, as 1 and 2 here, and then 1 and 2 and 3, well, basically 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5 to the 3rd wave. So yeah, it's a 3rd, 4th, 5th, 3rd, 4th, and 5th here. So if this is going to rally here, what we're going to be looking for is an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave for wave 2. Now the move up through to the A wave here will be in 5 waves, so we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and then we'll have 5, and then we'll have some sort of ABC correction that can pull back 50-60%. We'll probably come back into group 2 here. And then we will be looking at, once we got that 5 waves here, if we get 5 waves here, then we'll get, after a correction here, we'll get another 5, which will take us up into this particular space here at 63.20 here. So yeah, and then we should see the market fall down from that point. So we can use this. Obviously, if the market just drops from here, because currently we've got 3 waves up here, if the market just drops from here, because we're left with 3 waves, so this would also be a wave 1 down and ABC back here for wave 2. If it just drops from here, then we need to be short below this low here. In fact, you could short it below this one here. Okay, that little low in here, you could short it from that point. Otherwise, we'll look for the short, once the B wave comes in here, right, then you can draw that line across there and then short it from that point. Now, if the market is going to go higher, then we really want to see, this is a 61.8% here, then if we find support on top of just copy that. If we find support on top of group 1, which from 63 here, 63 is group 1, but it's still close to the 61.8% retracement level. So from 63, we've got the next group 1. This is minor group 1 here. Then we've got 1, 2, and 3, subgroup 1. So if we get a tested support on that level there, on number 3 there, and I'll have to draw it a little bit higher here because we'll get that first high above the level and it'll come back and then it will trigger in at that point. So we want to be going long from up there if I've made a mistake, okay? Just they're the flags on the outside, this low and that one there. So Friday and Monday can be bullish. So I was thinking that if you wanted to, this currently here is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 here. We could go long just here, right? You could take profit at the 30 here, at the 300 rather, or you could just stay in the game and leave the stop where it is here. And then once that comes in long here, then just allow this to play, wave B to play out here, because the thing of, I mean, you could say, why don't I go long on wave B here, and you can do that as well, But because if this top gets taken out here, that's going to make 5 waves up here. So if we get 5 here, then we're going to get another 5 over here. So if you took a very small trade here and kept the stop here, and then also bought back here again when it pulled back again, and then once that's done and dusted, then basically move the stop up under that low, and that will take you up there. Take some sort of percentage profit here, but also too, if the market continues up, you've already got 1, 2 positions in here, and then you can continue to move up from that point there. So it's a bit of a long-winded strategy, but if you're going to be sitting there watching it, that would be the way to play it out. Otherwise, you buy wave B here, try and track 5 waves up here for wave C, and then sell it at that point, or at least get out at that point. You don't really want to go short above the level here. Sure, it would be a better trade, but the risk doesn't add up either. So you want to make sure that if you're going to short the market, that you're below this number here, so you're on the right side of the market. Just to have a look at this in a little bit more detail here on the tick chart here. So on the tick chart here, you can see quite nicely here that we've got 5 waves up here for wave 1 and 2, back for wave 3 here, an A and a B and a C for wave 4. So we're talking about going long off the top of this one here, and that will take us up to this point here. So from that point there, the 50% retracement level, 61.8%, if that's there, that's back at 72 here. So yeah, don't overtrade, but look to buy back here again as well here. So, but yeah, if we get that 5 waves here, then after a correction, we're going to get the next 5. So I'll leave that at that. We'll have a look at China and Hong Kong. So with China and Hong Kong, I don't have a setup for these guys yet. In terms of a bigger picture, longer term trend. So what I was looking at is considering that we were having a low in here as this wave 5 and a turn in the market. So I was looking for 5 waves up. I know I've got wave 1 and 2 here, and then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here for the 3rd wave. This is the 4th wave back. And then if we get, so far, an A and a B and a C that could be counted as, and we could just move down from there. So that would be the trap. So if we get 1 and 2 and 3 and A, B, C for 4 here, and then we go up for 5 here, then we'll have 5 waves here. So then we'll be able to buy the pullback here in A, B, C here, and get a small position here and get a small position over here as well. Okay, so it's a little bit like the ASX really, but just a bigger time scale here. So yeah, not sure really what we can do about this. You can trade up, you can trade long. Whoopsie daisy, we don't need that indicator. We could trade long above this high here if you want to, but you would need to be, in this case, you'd need to get out at 11,500. So that's there if you want to do that. And the Hong Kong market's much the same as well. So with Hong Kong here, I know that we've got this move up here as wave 1 or wave A, wave 2 or wave B, and then wave 3 or wave C here. So from here, we can pull back to wave 4, and we can go have wave 5 here, and then we'll have an A and a B and a C back here again, okay? And then we'll move up if we get 5 waves here. But currently we've only got 3 waves, and we would be very close to being at the 61.8% from the move down here as well. So that's the other risk here. Yeah, so that's 61.8% on the 28,000 there. So as I've probably mentioned before, we wouldn't want to go long unless we've got support on this level here. So first of all, we'd like to see 5 waves complete up here. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5. If we get that 5, then we can look at moving in to this a little bit later here. So we could put wave 1 there, wave 2 there, and so on. But we don't know that yet, because this could also just fail from here and move down. But really, we wouldn't want to short until we get overlapping wave structures. So this high here, that's the low of wave 1 here. I mean, that's the high of wave 1 here, or wave A. So if the market moved down that, then we'd have overlapping wave structures. But if this moved down through here and took out this here, we'd still want to wait for a little move back up. So down for 1, back for 2, and then we can short it coming down here further. So yeah, we'll just wait and see and allow that to play out first before we make a decision on all of that there. And the Nikkei has pushed up and triggered a long trade. Find that. So you know that I'm not quite sure about this count, but I'm just calling it as I see it. In this instance here, we're looking at this as wave 1 here, an A and a B, and 5 waves for a C wave, and then we had 5 waves up here and an ABC here. We could have gone long a bit earlier here, but I wanted to get a support on this level here, so we had this high here. So this is moving off nicely now. We could probably move that stop up there somewhat now too. We'll just pop him up there somewhere. And we'll just see how we go with that. You can also look to add on top of this level here. We're going to meet a lot of resistance and supply here, but we should push higher. The next really resistance in here, I mean, the 500 is important here. If we can get nice support on that, we can expect the market to dance around that number for a little while. The 600 is important, but just be mindful of the 650 in there, 650 in there. That's going to be, that will play a bigger role than the 600 or the 700 in there, okay, the 650. So just be mindful of that. But anyway, that's sort of chuffing off okay. And the Nifty here, we're looking at, just in the bigger picture here, we're looking at wave 1 and 2 here, and then we're looking at wave 3 up here. I'm a little bit concerned about my count here because I've got wave 1 here and wave 2 here, and then I'm squashing wave 3 into this point here. I mean, if I look at this naturally here, I would have this blue wave 5 here, I'd have that as the top. But the internal count takes me to this particular point here, but I may have to readjust this. But one of the main other points here is that I know that the 11,500 is a medium level, and we should get a classic trading levels pattern there. So that's the arrival, the reaction, the first high above the level, and that's where we are now. So we've had the arrival, the reaction, and the first high above the level. So I'm expecting, so I've got the first high above the level, so I'm expecting an ABC pattern coming back down. So an ABC pattern going down. So it may be this way 4, or it may be this way 4. So, but it doesn't matter too much at this particular stage because we just want the setup, and the setup will be once we've got this high in place, an A and a B and a C coming back here, then we can look to buy on the long side because this trend is not finished. This major trend is not finished to the upside yet. So I'm just going to cut through onto the daily chart, to the hourly chart, and just look at this here. So we looked at being long here, and I brought the stop up here just to lock in any profits, but at the same time I knew that, well, I didn't know, but I was looking at our count here of being 1 and 2 here, and then spent a bit of time on all this. I felt that I had this right here, but I was still looking for another move up here, but I was worried about it pulling back into this big number here. So, but look, that top is in play here now. So I don't particularly want to do anything here, but it does look like we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here. So a little bit like the Australian market, we should see, if I can just clean this up for a moment here. Kind of looking for a move back to the 11,300 here for this. So in this instance here, it appears that we've got 5 waves down, so we should see a 50-60% retracement level here, and then another move down through here. So also what I need to do is that it's always good to know that when we're wrong, and you can see the number 650 here play out. So this I was talking about on the Nikkei as well, between 600 and 700. You can see how important it is. But look, the main point here is that if that there is breached, then the market will continue to move higher at that point. So we want to be long at that point. But I must say too that if I've made a mistake and the market's going to continue up there, then when we get to here, you don't have to go long just here, because what will happen is we'll get that scenario here, the classic trading levels pattern here as well, so, and then move up. So really what we can do is just chill out a bit and then wait for the right setup there. We can't go long earlier because we've called a top in and we're looking for 61.8% retracement level, so you could just get trapped in that space there, so just be mindful of that. But otherwise we'll be looking at this moving somewhere back down in this vicinity here in due course. So let's just see how that plays out there. All right, well look, thanks for tuning in, much appreciated. Cheers.